Hi, I'm Jim Tolles. Today I want to talk about being afraid to meet yourself. And there's going to be kind of two meanings to that I'll talk about very shortly. I have some links down below that I invite you to look at after listening to this video to hopefully help you go deeper and to overcome the stumbling block that causes a lot of people, well, to suffer, but to go no further on the spiritual path. What do I mean by yourself? Well, I'm using it in two words, as you can see in the title of this video. So the self being that space of truth, that space of awareness, that awakened space, the space that's always awake inside. But also putting the two words together, yourself meaning who you are. And so those are actually two different things and two different fears that we don't necessarily understand. I can tell you that there is nothing to fear from the self with a capital S. It's not going to hurt you. It's this awareness that unconditionally accepts you as you are. And at the deepest level, we're letting go of that self. We drop into the truth that we are all one. There's no danger to you. It's pure spaciousness, pure unconditional acceptance. You're not going to find any harm there. Although sometimes we think that, but I think that really is just the ego trying to mask the fact that it's the problem. And to mask others' concerns that we have to admit to having. The ego has a lot of agendas, a lot of things it's trying to get. It's what we're taught to do. We're taught to resource gather. And our resource gathering kind of goes into gathering lots of other different things. Gathering compliments, gathering clothes, gathering experiences that we enjoy. The ego fundamentally thinks of itself as being separate. When we're identified with the ego, we think of ourselves as being separate. And we try to protect this separateness. And we don't do a particularly good job a lot of the times because we cause so much suffering for ourselves and for others because we're so concerned with our individuality of a certain kind. And particularly if people have been successful by social standards, not by spiritual standards, but by social standards, in gathering resources and getting these different things and keeping away things they don't want, going to meet yourself feels like it might threaten some of that. And that can make us afraid. We don't want to threaten this good dream that we're having. See, if it's a nightmare, this is the interesting thing. If somebody's having a nightmare, they want to get out of that. And so there's more motivation to look within. Of course, at times, some people have such a bad nightmare, they're afraid they're going to see even worse things when they look inside themselves. And as I said, the self, that awareness, there's nothing that's going to hurt you there. But you will have to reckon with your ego and the things you've done, the pain you have caused others, as well as the pain that you carry. And so there is a level of truth that when we have this fear of being afraid to look at ourselves, look within, part of us knows we got some work to do. If we didn't have any work to do, there's really nothing to fear because pure self, that's not going to hurt you. And if there's no issues with the ego and the things that we've done, then there's no problem with looking within at all, is there? You just look in, it's like, oh, it's a clear, open space. I'm great. But rarely is that the case. More commonly, we understand I'm holding on to some things inside. And since we don't know how to deal with them, there's this added fear, that fear of the unknown that steps in as well. It says, if I see something I don't like, I don't know what to do with it. So it's better just not look. Just don't look. Don't look in there. Hide it all away. Pretend it's not a big deal. Your life is good. It's good enough. Don't mess with things. Right? These are things the ego says as it tries to barter with you and negotiate. It's one of its many tricks. I have a whole video about 7 common ego tricks that you can listen to after this talk. So some of that fear is justified in the sense that there is stuff that you need to work on. And this is a deep look within. It's not a glancing look like, oh, we're good. I looked really, no, you didn't really look. You just glanced and looked away as soon as you could whenever you thought that it was time to get away from it. Right? This is a deep inward gaze to understand ourselves. And when we understand ourselves, there's a great deal of power that comes with that. And there's no need to hide. Along the way, you will find things that you need to address. And there's many levels of issues that work our way down to the most deep and fundamental attachments to our individuality. I talked about this in one of the other videos about healing illusions and attachments, that we're not just healing trauma. I mean, people who have trauma, like, healing is important, but there are other levels, the upsetting experiences, the common issues that people get sucked in, like the need to be successful, need to be attractive. Those are actually very wounding, and we don't realize it until you really look at them. Anything that you really look at on the spiritual path will have to reveal itself to you. It's a kind of power when we look within. We're kind of commanding things out of the darkness in a way. Say, show yourself. And we have to mean it. We have to look with both eyes, not like one eye. No, I'm good. I don't want to look too much. And we do all this sort of bartering and hedging, and that, of course, causes a problem when we want to do inner work. We don't go very far. We can fool ourselves into thinking we're more advanced than we are, and that's just not how you go about this work. So sincerity and self-honesty, those are always keys. And you need those, as well as the willingness, at least, to develop resilience and dedication. If you don't have that now, then you will learn and develop it as you go. And even if you do have a sense of resilience and self-dedication and discipline, you're going to develop it further, because it's surprising what we hide inside. But fortunately, at the base of all this is that pure self that never judges. You can't break it, can't be fixed. It's just there. It's got that space for all of us. For all this messiness, all this dissolving, and all the stuff that goes on with letting go of our ego, of noticing attachments and letting them drop away, and the transformation that arises from that. It's like many things where things get more difficult for a while, but the end result is this beautiful freedom that's always within, that we've just been distracted from. So there's nothing to fear. Will there be difficult emotions and sensations? Yes. That will happen. Will you experience fear as you look within at times? Probably. But it is just a biological response. You don't have to be afraid of that response. So you don't have to add fear on top of the fear. It's okay if you have this fear. And sometimes we hide this fear under a lot of pride. I think that'll be kind of my last point for this video, that pride makes it impossible to do anything. Pride says, I don't have a problem. If that's where you still are, you can continue on your journey. People like me, we're not going to force you to change. But if there start to be cracks in that pride, you'll start to see this fear. And if you see this fear, this is encouragement to go within, to find out where it's coming from. What is it trying to hide? Because in the space of awareness, there's no room to hide. These are some thoughts for today. I hope they're useful. Please take a look at the links down below and enjoy the rest of your day, morning, afternoon, wherever you may be.